Hello, my students. You're welcome to the Government Online Classroom. And our topic for today is conflict resolution and management. And this topic, peace education, is under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 16 that aims to achieve peace, justice, and strong institutions before the year 2030. And under this topic, we'll be looking at this following course outline: the meaning of conflict, the types of conflict, the causes of conflict, consequences of conflict, conflict resolution, meaning of peace, mechanism for promoting peace, clarification, question and answer section, evaluation and quiz, then assignment. So the key vocabularies, what I expect of you in the post to master the course of this teaching and learning are disagreement, dialogue, arbitration, violence, insurgents, treason, revolution, massacre, and terrorism. So the entry behavior, I believe that you are familiar with interpersonal disagreement that happen maybe between you in a group or in your places or where you reside. And I believe you are aware of the Nigerian Civil War between 1967 to 1970 and this Boko Haram insurgents that we have currently now in Nigeria. So the learning objectives, what I expect of you in the process or at the process or before the end of this lesson is that you should be able to define conflict, explain at least 5 types of conflict, and also discuss at least 5 causes of conflict, and explain 5 consequences of conflict, and discuss 5 ways that conflict could be resolved or managed in our society, and explain the meaning of peace. And then lastly, highlight at least 5 mechanisms or ways that we can promote peace in our society or between interpersonal relationship. So the instructional materials are the virtual image of Boko Haram terrorist attack and Niger Delta militants, the Nigerian Civil War pictorial representation, and Ants check and mediator. And I hope the class will be an interesting one in fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goal 16 for peace, justice, and strong institution, which is an integral part of government scheme of work. So, we now comes to the meaning of conflict. When we hear the word conflict, what does conflict mean to us? But I need to clarify the fact that what we cannot achieve through violence, what we cannot achieve through dialogue, we cannot achieve it through confrontation or conflict. So we need the knowledge of conflict resolution, how we can manage disagreement between ourselves. And also I need to establish the fact that no nations of the world, none an individual, none a group will be reckoned on what they are able to destroy, but by what they are able to build for the people, the relationship they are able to create, the connection they are able to create will justify how successful they are. So when we talk about conflict, it simply means a clash of interests and or disagreement between an individual or between people. Conflict is unavoidable. It is part of life. It is what brings about development. Because the reason for our ingenuity, for our continuous improvement, is because of conflict, is because of disagreement. So when we disagree, new idea is sparked up. Because conflict is kind of spark. But when this conflict, when it is positive, it brings positive results. But when it is negative, as in when it is not appropriately managed, that's when it brings about destruction. So, and that's why we are looking at this topic that I have to re-emphasize again. So, it also means disagreement or struggle between individual or group of people. So this clash of interest or disagreement between people is a difference that must be reconciled or settled for peace to reign. If the differences are not settled between an individual or a nation or a group, then the conflict might degenerate into destructive violence. And what are the types of conflict we have? You can see the pictorial representation like the Niger Delta militants, the Boko Haram, and you can see the leader of the group. And there are different types of conflict involving state actors. And what do we mean by state actors? State actors are the government. So once the government are involved in the conflict, we call them state actors. And the non-state actors. The non-state actors are the no-governmental individual or community or organization. So the following are the types of conflicts that affect political affairs and governance of a state. We have different types of conflict. In fact, there is a conflict in the place of work organization. But the types of conflict we are going to look on is the conflict that affects the corporate existence of the state or that affects the political dimension of a country. So we have violence conflict. Violence conflict, just as the name implies, it involves the use of aggression or physical force to resolve issues or disagreements between an individual and or state or country, and which may lead to the loss of lives and property. So we have examples. Good example are the 1967 to 1970 civil war in Nigeria, and also the Aba woman riot of 1929 are good examples of violence conflicts because it led to the loss of lives and properties. While the number two, the second one, is the no violence conflict. And when we talk about no violence conflict, it is a peaceful way of settling disagreement, pursuit of rights, seeking redress, agitating against injustice and oppression, or bringing about change in the society. And what this type of conflict is talking about is that it is a disagreement. But this disagreement is not a destructive one that leads to the loss of lives and property, but it is a means of agitating for what is right or to settling discords or differences. So we have examples like the June 12 peaceful protest and demonstration in Nigeria against the annulled election of MQ Abiola. Also, we have the agitation, the demonstration or protest against rape in the country, Nigeria. It's also a kind of no violence conflict. But this no violence conflict, if it is not appropriately managed, it might develop into violence conflict. So we have to be conscious of the way we protest by getting the appropriate approval from the police before the protest, so that you not be hijacked by undue element or by mischievous people that take advantage of peaceful protest. Like you can see the Black Lives Matter that was hijacked by some group of people to loot shops. The next type of conflict that we'll be looking at is the communal conflict. And this is a conflict that usually happen between two or more communities. And it is a violent conflict between no state actors. And mind you, I said the no state actors are those who are not government, no state actor groups that are organized along a shared communal identity. Like, for example, the Ephraim Modakeke conflict at Osun State, the Erinle and Ofa conflict in Kwara State over land dispute fall under the categories of communal conflict. We have the next one, which is ethnic conflict. And this conflict usually happens between ethnic groups or tribes. And for example, the conflict between the Hausas and the Kataf, Yoruba and Hausas, Ishakiri and the Ijo of Delta State, the Hausa and the Igbo massacre that occur in the north and also at the east that led to the loss of thousands of lives and property. So, and the next one is the religious conflict. And this religious conflict has led also to the loss of thousands of lives and property in Nigeria. And this conflict happened between religious groups. For example, the Christian and the Muslim conflict or clash that occur in the northern Nigeria, especially at Jos. The next one is political conflict or crisis. And this political conflict or crisis mostly happen during the period of election or when the drum of election is beating. So this type of conflict have to do as a result of political clashes or leadership tussle. So for example, the Action Group crisis of 1962, the military coup that came as a result of the change in leadership and among other political violence in Nigeria. So this political crisis mostly happen in a situation where there is absence of free and fair election. And when there is a rigging of election. So this political crisis is not far away from such a country. And we have the next one, terrorism. And I need to acknowledge or recount the fact that the abandoned child of yesterday, the abandoned Almajiri child of yesterday is the Boko Haram of today. The abandoned child in war-torn Somalia are the pirates, are the terrorists of today. And this terrorism, it is the unlawful use of violence or threat to create fear in the society and intimidate the government in pursuit of political, economic, and religious or ideological goals. And it is barbaric act to instigate fear and terrorize the society. And this terrorism, those people that recruit terrorists into the camp, they use a form of religious indoctrinations to brainwash the people to be a suicide bomber. They take undue advantage of their economic situation. They use them as a political toggling to gain political advantage. For example, a politician, if he discovers that he doesn't have an upper hand in one region, he will cause an havoc in that region in order so that the vote of that region will not count. And this will give him edge in other region that is peaceful. So terrorism, it is barbaric and it is a crime against humanity. So for example, we have the Boko Haram, we have the Niger Delta militants, we have the suicide bomber, Al-Qaeda, Taliban are good examples of terrorist groups that we have in our society today. So the next one is a genocide. And when we talk about genocide, it is the deliberate and systematic killings of large group of people because of their ethnicity, maybe it is different from ours, because of diversity, because of race, because of religion, because of nationality, because of their political affiliation or social status. So because they are not in alliance with our belief, then, or the genocider, and trying to deliberately and systematically wiping them out of the system. So it is a mass extermination of a whole group of people, or an attempt to wipe them out of existence. It is the gravest crime against humanity. For example, the Holocaust that happened in Germany, that the Jews were attempted to be wiped out under Adolf Hitler because they are Jews and they are not Arya. And as part of our right to connect the town and the gowns together, we are going on excursions to United Nations Information Center at Lagos to observe the Holocaust Day every January 27th of every year. And the Darfur genocide in Sudan, the Rwanda genocide, are good examples of genocide types of conflict, because it is a disagreement, it is a clash of interest that led to the loss of lives and property. And this genocide is mostly carried out by state actors who have hatred against one particular ethnic group or religion, or who is against diversity. So the purpose of this lesson is to bring consciousness of these types of conflict, to let us to be mindful, so that we will not be used as a machineries to carry out this barbaric act because of people who have one hidden or selfish desire that they want to gain at the detriment of the masses. So the next one is revolution, and revolution is a radical and solid change in the political power and political organization, which happen when the people revolt against the government. And revolution typically occurs when the population perceive political, economic, and social oppression or political incompetence of the ruling party. Revolution mostly happen where there is a widespread of poverty and hunger in the society, where there is a widespread of unemployment, where the economy, when things are not in order. Revolution always takes place there. And it is usually violent and bloody, and it is a treasonable offense. And examples of revolution we have is American Revolution between 1775 to 1783, the French Revolution between 1789 to 1799, the Ghana June 4 Revolution led by Jerry Rawlings against corrupt and selfish and barbaric leadership in Ghana then. And this barbaric leadership, corrupt leadership, inspired the novel of Ike Ama, The Beautiful One Are Not Yet Born. And where we have many Ghanaians in Nigeria doing many a job and to sustain their life, because most of them, because of the corruption, they have to leave their countries to come to the neighboring countries, especially in Nigeria. And the next one is national conflict. Just as the name implies, it is internal conflict or insurgency within a country. Examples are the Nigerian Civil War between 1967 to 1970, the Aba Woman Riot between 1929, among other national conflicts, which might be political, which might be ethnic, which might be religious, that happen within that country. So